Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome back to another episode of my Out of the Park 20 playthrough with the Phillies. So for the last time in this playthrough, we are on a playoff run, and in fairly good shape. I mean, we've maintained since that last episode. We're 7 games above Atlanta, who's jumped over Miami. Miami really struggling the second half of the season. We've got 26 to play, and I think the magic number is something like 19. So it's not assured, but that's pretty good state to be in right now. Since the last episode, which was just before the All-Star break, or actually I think it was right at the All-Star break, I did make one trade. As I mentioned earlier, I had some money to do some trades if I needed to, and I had a pretty highly rated relief pitcher who was going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He was making like $6.5 million. I didn't think I was going to re-sign him. And just to give us hopefully some offensive help, I traded for this guy, Mike Beers, shortstop out of Baltimore. 3-star rated, but he's got pretty good ratings overall. He can play third and short, and what I've done is I've moved him to third in place of Robollo. I think Robollo needs probably another year or so to develop, and he was injured at the time, so I was really strapped for infield help. And as good a player as this guy is, he's making a lot of money. His contract is like for 4 more seasons or 3 more seasons after this one if he doesn't opt out. And I think the kind of season he's had, I don't think he's going to opt out. I think Phillies are going to be stuck with this guy, and it's been kind of a bust. He was looking really good with Baltimore, came over to us, and hasn't been doing as good. So I'm hoping that he can turn it on down the stretch, and if nothing else, have a good playoff performance if we make it to the playoffs. But his personality ratings were really high, fan favorite. It really helped our fan interest when we signed him or traded for him, but in terms of performance, it hasn't been too great. What we've been doing, though, well, let me look at the standings first, and I'll show you how everybody's doing, then I'll look at the team. So we're maintaining, like I said, we're 7 over Atlanta. You got St. Louis and Arizona with the best records in the National League. It looks like Cincinnati and San Diego right now are the wild cards. And then for individual performances, Joe Howard was injured, I think, for a time, and he's come off his pace. He was hitting well over 400, having just a great MVP caliber year. Still has a chance at the MVP, but I think he's not going to have the final numbers because of injuries. We've got very few people showing up on the leaderboards. Honestly, Warlick and RBIs, George and stolen bases, and that's it. And I'll show you why that is when we look at the individual team performances. In the American League, looks like the Yankees again in a tight race in the East against Tampa Bay and Boston. Cleveland up pretty comfortably over Chicago, and then Texas and Houston and Oakland kind of battling it out in the West. Individually, Jeremy Dahl, who's at the White Sox now, he's injured, but he's having another good year, hitting .348. Pitching, you got Sanford with 17 wins, so we may have a 20 winner, which is kind of rare in this playthrough. But in the American League, we'll see that in the National League. But individually, first off on the team, since that last episode, we've just been maintaining. In July, we were 15-10. Had a losing record in August, 13-14. We've won 2 of 3 in September. Our offense has gotten a little bit better. I mean, we're second in hits. We're top 10 in several categories. Walks and home runs are the big struggle. I don't know what we're going to do to improve that. I thought with that first baseman I signed that we would be a little bit better, but we haven't been. Pitching, we're not as dominant as last year. Our bullpen is solid, but the starting rotation has had some problems. We've had to deal with some injuries. Rigler, the big free agent pitcher I signed last year, he was out for a month or so. We've lost, oh gosh, I forgot his name. Andy Buck, He's gone for the rest of the season. Wasn't having a great year, though, in all honesty. So probably not going to miss him. Looking at the pitching staff right now, we've got Zach Thompson leading the way, but he's been a little bit cold down the stretch. His ERA is over 3. He's at 13 wins. Still getting the strikeouts, 219. Wriggler has looked good, 267 ERA, just 8 wins. And then Barbarossa at 10 wins. Once again, double digits for him. Gramajo was injured for a while, but he's back. Pitching fairly good in that 4th spot. I've moved higher. The guy who's considered a top prospect right now, I put him in the starting rotation. Hopefully he'll be good enough to not blow up down the stretch. And then, of course, Hadakiyama having another good season, potentially another good reliever of the year, which would be 3 in a row for him. His wins above replacement for reliever is really high, 3.6. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a reliever get 4 or greater wins above replacement, so that could be a pretty big accomplishment. On the lineup side, Raidaball was cold for a while. He's been playing better of late. So, at 26, almost 27 years old, he may still develop. He was a former first-round draft pick, so he always had some upside. And I hope, given time, he will become a regular and be productive. Beers, though, really struggling. Gutierrez having a good year. He's going to be gone after this year. And that's another reason why I thought that Beers trade might work if Beers hangs on for 3 more years. Even though he's expensive, Gutierrez would be expensive too. And this guy's been great for us. He's got good speed, good defense. I hate to see him go, but I can't afford what he's asking for, really. I mean, he's wanting a long-term contract, $18-19 million average. That's just not going to cut it. $17.8 million a year. But he is having a good year. Palma has been the disappointment. Just 14 home runs, 255 average, 254 average. I don't know what's going on with him. I may have, unfortunately, got him at the tail end of his career or productivity. He's also got a player opt-out. If not, he's going to be hanging around for 4 more seasons. So it's probably a good thing I'm retiring, because I'm leaving this team in pretty bad shape potentially. But I'm hoping that he's turning it around a little bit. He had a good August, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, 319 average. And then the outfield, Pritchard's hot right now, but he hasn't had a great season, just 9 home runs. George, he is not a full-time starter. I think it's pretty evident at this point. Good defensive player, probably a good bench player, just not good enough to start. And then Warlick, average is down, but productivity is there. He could potentially get to 100 RBIs this year. But that's the team. And let's take a look at the pennant chase to see how we look. Unlike in previous seasons, it's not looking too bad. 26 left. We're 13 home, 13 away. Winning percentage of that remaining schedule is .482, so that's really generous. For Atlanta, they've got 2 less games than we do. Still have a split, 12 home, 12 away, but a tad bit higher on the remaining schedule's winning percentage. So just depends on how hot they get and if we can just maintain in terms of winning this thing out. But let's go ahead and get it going. It's going to be probably decided pretty early. We got the Mets in Atlanta coming up, and it's going to be on the road against Atlanta. So game 1, home against New York, we lose 2-3. That's been the story almost all year. Raidaball led off and did pretty good, but higher, 6 innings, 3 runs, not that great. We lose the next game 2-5 in extra innings, 16 innings. Hicks had 4 hits in this one. Boy, he's been really struggling. Pitching-wise, Barbarossa, good start from him, but offense couldn't get the win. And it looks like Atlanta's still losing. They're still 7 back of us. So game 3 against New York, we lose 4-1. And Atlanta did pick up a half game. Gutierrez, 2 hits, and that's about it. Thompson, once again, didn't look good. 6 1/3, 4 runs. His 7th loss of the season. So it's looking, I don't know, it's looking like we're struggling at the wrong time. So 4 games on the road against Atlanta, we need to win. I'd say at least 2. Our magic number, just 17. So we haven't picked up hardly anything so far. Game 1, 6-4, big win. Injury there to take care of real quick. So we got some good offense here from Radeball, Hicks, Palma. Palma may have had a home run in this one. And looks like it was Radeball. Yeah, Radeball was the only one with the home run. Gramajo pitched okay, but didn't get the decision. Hadakayama, 31st save. Now game 2 against Atlanta. We lose 2-1. Oh my gosh. So they're 6.5 back. I mean, they could still do it. Rigler, a good game for the most part, but just we can't get the offense going. We got a trade proposal too. I don't know why that's coming in late. Older players there. A decent shortstop prospect. What do they want? No, they want some prospects from us. They're not gonna get that. So game 3 against Atlanta, 1-5. Gosh, this offense, it's terrible. I don't think we'll, even if we make the playoffs, I don't see us being able to get too far. And then game 4, we finally win 10-7. We win offense. Wouldn't you know it, the way I'm talking. But Beer's still struggling, just 1 for 5. Gutierrez, Palma, Warlick with a couple of hits. Barbarossa did not get the win here. Struggled early and took the bullpen to get the win for us. But Sean Hicks is wanting an extension. As hard as catching is, I don't think I'm going to give it to him because of his age, and I just think I'll risk it again on the free agent market. It's Players of the Week: Godinez, Wooldridge. Power rankings, we are 10th, so not great, honestly. Magic number down to 13 though, so the split with Atlanta was good enough to keep us going. But now we're going to be on the road against Detroit, a pretty weak Detroit team, and then back home against Atlanta. So this week, could really go far for us if we manage to win out against Atlanta. So game 1 against Detroit, 9-6. This may have been Thompson. He got the win, his 14th. Didn't look good again. His ERA's up to 3.23. We got Tyler DH in here. He had a good game. Pritchard, George, Beers, multiple hits. Overall, really good offensive performance. Game 2 against Detroit, we lose 13-2, so we just flipped it around. Man, and Atlanta's now 5 back. So Radeball, 3 hits. His production has been pretty good. 70 RBIs for the kind of hitter he is. I didn't expect that. Palma was 2 for 3. Gramajo took the loss. Otero really looked bad in relief. So I'm gonna, he was a September call up, and I can't afford. So I'm gonna avoid high leverage. I can't afford to have him blowing up too much. And looks like Luis Vargas was suspended for 11 games. Wow. That was pretty big. Looks like there was a fight in this one. So game 3 against Detroit, hopefully we can win this series. And we do 6-4. You can see, pitching is not doing as well right now as it usually does. So we got George, Pritchard, Gutierrez, multiple hits. Rigler got his 9th win, but wasn't solid in this one. So now we're going against Atlanta. This is going to be just a 3-game series. It's at home. We really need to win this series. I think if we win this series, we'll be in good shape. Game 1, we lose 2-4, so they could catch us really easy with this one. Higher took the loss and hit on this one. Game 2, 1-0. Wow. So George, Beers 4 for 4. Probably one of the best games I've seen him play since he joined us. Barbarossa, 11th win. He looked good in this one. So he might pick up 12 for the season. That's pretty good. It's about where his average is. And then game 3, this is a big one. And we lose it 2-1. So multiple hits from Beers, Warlick, Pritchard, but Thompson, a good game here. 7 innings, 2 runs, 12 Ks, but no offense. So go back to the weekly news. Players of the week. Josh Atkins having a good year. This guy's 37. And really at 3.5 stars, still got some good ratings. If he plays another year, he'll be up to 500 home runs. I think this guy's got a shot at the playoffs. He has won the MVP before. Ty Lucy, who played for us briefly last year, he's retiring. And power rankings, we're all the way down to 12th. Atlanta has jumped us, and they're just 4 games back. We're 80 wins. They're 77. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Magic number's just 9. Not good at all. If you look at how we're doing too, this month has not been great. 7 and 9. So we're limping. If we make the playoffs, we're definitely limping into it. And we're playing a tough Cincinnati team on the road. They are fighting for the wild card. Looks like they're probably going to get the wild card. But game 1 out on the road against Cincinnati, big win, 6-3. Palma, 3 for 5, still no home runs from this guy, just at 15. Beers, another good game from him. Maybe he's getting hot at the right moment. Gramajo, his 7th win. Hadakiyama, 35th save. He's up to 4.2 wins above replacement. So he has, if he holds on, he'll be over 4 for the season. Game 2 against Cincinnati, another big win, 2-1. Some good pitching here. Looks like Rigler may have gotten the win. Beers 2 for 4, so he continues to hit well. Excuse me. Rigler, great game from him, 7 1/3. Sorry, no runs. And Hadakiyama, 36 save, but he gave up a run. Rigler, had he gotten more starts, I think his numbers would have turned out to be pretty good. Probably close to what I lost in Parker when you figure it all in together. So game 3, can we sweep Cincinnati? I don't know. It's taken a while. And we do. 3-2. Great series. That may have been enough to squeak by. 3-2 win. Pritchard, Warlick, Gutierrez, Radeball, multiple hits. Robolo got the start at 3rd, and looks like he didn't get a home run, but he did get an RBI. Heyer didn't get the win here. He looked good, though. So now, look at the news. Diamondbacks are in. No surprise there. And 5 hits from Hirano from Kansas City. Josh Gordon. A weird year from him. At low average, but 39 home runs, 111 RBIs. He had a pretty decent year. And again, I think he's on the bubble for the Hall of Fame. He had a good, very productive career. So now next series is going to be 2 on the road against Miami. Miami's really fallen apart this second half of the season. Game 1, we lose 4-1. But Atlanta now 7 games back. It's going to be tough. I don't think they can catch us, but I'll take a look. Barbarossa gave us 7 innings, no earned runs, but took the loss here. And yeah, magic number down to 2. So game 2 against Miami, we win 4-1. Good game there. I hope it was Thompson. Thompson 3 for 3 in this game. This guy can hit sometimes. Palma 3 for 5. The average has been good from him, but still no home runs. Thompson is 15th win. If he gives one more start, he may wind up with 16, which is kind of what he's averaging for his career. But now we got the last week of the season. We're going to be home against Washington. I think that's the last game of the season, or last week of the season. I'll take a look at the weekly news here. So Cincinnati is in the postseason. Players of the week: Steinhebel, the Kansas City in the American League; Andy Parker for St. Louis in the National League. We've moved up to 7th in the weekly power rankings. Yankees in, San Diego in. So the playoffs are looking pretty settled. You got the wild cards are decided. Arizona, St. Louis are in, and we're just one game away from clinching. So game one against Washington, we lose 2-3 in extra innings. Beers had a good game here. His average now up to 240 for us. Rigler pitched a pretty decent game, but no offense, so we couldn't win it. Game two, 7-5, and that should do it. Good offense here from several guys. Pritchard, Beers, Hicks even 2 hits. And then Gramajo didn't get the win. Had a rough outing, but Hadakiyama, 37 save. And now, as soon as I start talking about it, his wins above replacement down to 3.8. Looks like he's been getting the saves, but he's giving up runs when he's getting it. But I think we should clinched with that win. So, yeah, we did clinch the National League East 6 years in a row for that. So we got 6 games left here. Game 3 is it against Washington? We lose 4-1. No offense in this one. Higher, couldn't get the win for him. And then last game against Washington, 4-3, nice win. Warlick, couple RBIs. He's at 94. He's going to struggle, I think, to get to 100 this year. And then Barbarossa did not get the win. I wish he'd have gotten it because he is at 11 right now. That's probably going to be how he finishes. So news here, Arizona win the West, no surprise. And now Tampa Bay is in the postseason. So now we got Chicago left at home. And this is the White Sox. Game 1, 5-2, good win. Rated ball, a couple hits, 3 RBIs. Thompson did not get the win. Pitched a good game here, 11 Ks, just 2 runs. But he's going to finish out with 15 wins. One of, his worst season since 2041. Still at 6 wins above replacement. He's still a good player. I mean, he's a 5-star rated pitcher at 85 wins and just 5 full seasons in the majors, 1,100 strikeouts. So maybe he'll come back next year, bounce back a little bit. I am going to finish out the season, then we'll look at the news. So game 2 against Chicago, 2-3 in 15 innings. Beers a couple of hits, so he's getting close to 250 batting average for us. Rigler, a great game, 8 innings, no runs, but that bullpen blew it. Now the last game against Chicago, we lose 5-7. Man, we are literally limping into the playoffs. So Beers had a hit. Warlick, 2 for 3 in RBI. George, 3 hits at the top of the lineup. Gramajo didn't pitch bad, but Uribe, who's struggling. This guy had a great season last year, not so much this year. And now, last game of the season, a makeup game against Miami on the road. We win 7-6. So we finished with 88 wins. Not as good as we've been in the past, but it's good enough to win it, and that's all I'm caring about at this point. I didn't really think we were going to be able to pull this one out based on the way we started out the first of the season. And Hadakiyama really blew it in those last couple of weeks. His wins above replacement finishes at 3.1. Still probably going to be in line for the reliever of the year, but not as strong a case as it was a couple weeks ago. So let's take a look at the news. I'm going to look at the player development update. So we got Zach Thompson picking up some ratings. Not as if he needed it, but that's good to see. Colvin, probably a guy who's not going to factor in too much, although he looked good when I called him up, had a good September. Pat Brinke, his ratings have improved a little bit. Rataball, now a 3-star player. So to me, that puts him right in line. He's, as a starting player. So good season for him. First full season as a starter. 2 wins above replacement. I think give him another good season, another full season. I think he's going to develop into the starter. Good starting second baseman. Rivera lost some ratings. Murdoch Ings, who's been injured the second half of the season. Let's see. See if there's any of my big prospects picking up ratings. I don't see it so far. So some of these guys who are picking up ratings, I'm not familiar with them, honestly. So yeah, it looks like no real big movement from my bigger prospects. So players of the month, Jeff Steinhebel was batter of the month in September. Andy Parker in the National League. Top pitchers, Nurowski in Boston. This guy, 33 years old. He is a former Cy Young. He gets a lot of strikeouts. Very high contract though, almost $40 million, kind of like Chris Sale numbers, and yeah, he's good. I just can't imagine $40 million for him. And then Jimmy Mannion, former Philly, he was pitcher of the month in the National League. Rookies of the month, Zach Fama, Tampa Bay, 14 wins in his rookie season, and then Jorge Alvarado for Cincinnati. So we'll look at how the playoffs finished, and then Jeremy Dole, Player of the Week, finished with a 365 average. So for his career, he's hitting 351. That's amazing. And National League went to Jeff Walters at Pittsburgh. And weekly team rankings, we finished 11th. Not good. See if there's any Phillies prospects winning some awards, but it doesn't look like it. So how does it finish? Looking at the American League, it's going to be the Yankees with the best record, 96 wins. Tampa Bay, Boston, both make the wild card. They may have a playoff game to determine who gets home field advantage. I don't know how that works. But Boston finishing hot. They may be a hot team in the playoffs. And we got another playoff game situation between Cleveland and Chicago. And Houston clinches the West. Individually, no real big numbers outside of Jeremy Dole's 365 average. No 50 home run players in the American League or the National League. That's kind of odd. No 20 game winners. Nurowski, Sanford with 18. Nurowski 273 strikeouts, and he might win his second Cy Young. And then in the National League, we won 6th National League East Division title in a row. Atlanta tanked there towards the end. Miami tanked. You know, I have to say this year probably we won because the rest of the league or rest of that division was struggling. Any other season, we would have had a hard time winning it because we just did not have the team, the balance that we needed to dominate this year. But since St. Louis wins the Central, Cincinnati in the wild card along with San Diego, and then Arizona, best record in the National League. We're probably going to face St. Louis in the opening round of the playoffs, so I'll look at how that's going to shape up, what our record is against them. But a pretty low year in terms of batting averages. 329 led the league. Home runs, Josh Green with 41, led in RBIs. He might be a MVP candidate. Pretty young player for Cincinnati. And Eric George, second in stolen bases. So for his career, he has 88 stolen bases in 3 seasons. ERA title went to Areza. This guy won the Cy Young Award last year. Probably going to win it this year. He's better in wins above replacement. I'd say he would be one of the favorites. Pereira, Arizona, led with 19. Jamie Burnham, another Cy Young Award candidate. Pitcher wins above replacement was Areza, Trinidad at Miami. Yeah, I think Areza is probably going to do it. That would be two in a row for him. He is a 5-star player. Really good ratings here from him. I mean, he's right up there with Zach Thompson. Probably the only thing that makes him a little slightly worse than Thompson is his defensive ratings. Thompson's won, I think, 3 or 4 Gold Gloves at pitcher. And then saves, Pollard led the way with 47. Hadakiyama not even on that list. I think he finished with Let me see what he finished with. 39. But overall, still a good year from him. 159 saves. He is going to be a free agent after this year, or is it like, I think it's arbitration eligible, and I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be. I know that that's the way it works in this game. If you sign a guy like a foreign, player, a lot of times if you sign him for a 3 or 4 year contract, then arbitration kicks in when that's over. But I don't know what to say about this season. I don't know how we're going to look going into the playoffs. But I'm going to try and play it out this time to finish the way I have always tried to do it. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's unfortunate. But, we made as good a run as we could. Six division titles in a row, 3 World Series. Finished the series out better than I thought we would. There was a time when we were just struggling to make the playoffs every year. And so this time, looks like, I turned it around. I feel pretty confident. We were competitive anyway, overall. And then I wanted to take a look at how we look against St. Louis this year. I don't know how much we've played them. I don't think we've played them too much, if I'm thinking right. So against Arizona, we were 4-2. So we did look good against them. Against the Reds, we were 5-2. We did really good against Miami. So against St. Louis, we were 2-4. So that could be difficult. They're the only team in the playoffs when you count San Diego, Cincinnati, Arizona. Who's the other team in the playoffs? Was it Milwaukee? Arizona, San Diego, Cincinnati, St. Louis. Okay, yeah, so St. Louis is really the only team that we didn't look good against in the season. I don't know if that'll have too much of an impact, but I kind of hope it does, because that would be nice to know that we've been competitive against the rest of the teams in the playoffs. But I'll get the roster set offline, and then next episode I'll come back and see how we're doing. Hopefully get to a clinching game situation, whether we're winning or losing, and play it out, and hopefully make another run. I think if we do make a run, some of those guys we sign, like Beers, they're going to have incredible playoffs. I think that's the only way we'll be able to do it. Some players are going to have to play the best they've ever played in their careers. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next episode.